Good morning, everyone. It's 23rd of September and 8 o'clock in the morning again here in Lanzarote. Sorry we didn't get the tracker update up yesterday, but as you probably know, we're busy with Damien arriving and then cutting videos and getting press releases out and doing all the other updates and so on. So it was all a bit hectic, and I'm sure you managed to have a look and keep an eye on everything that's happening on the tracker anyway. So a bit of an update, some interesting things happening. Arnaud is underway again, which is kind of cool. He's a bit over 100 nautical miles away, and we'd expect to see him through the film drop in the early hours of tomorrow morning, Saturday, which is cool. So that'll be everyone through. And at the moment now, if I just push this up, we've got Captain Coconut back on track, heading towards Lanzarote. He rang us about 1:30 this morning, and he is coming into the marina at Lanzarote, so Rubicon Marina. So we will meet him there and get the whole story when he turns up. So it was all a bit of fun, and I think everyone knew that. Although we thought he was coming in last night because it was after sunset, but good twilight. But he decided to have another night at sea, and he's making pretty good progress. I think we would see him. We'll see him at the marina in the next few hours, so stand by for that one. And we've got Damien heading down very comfortably, making 7.5 knots. You'll be happy with that. And then if we come back, I'm going to go straight into the weather where you can see here. This is the interesting one, Ian Herbert Jones. I'm not sure whether he got our weather update yesterday on the low pressure system coming through, but he's clearly heading out to the southwest or west, hanging on to these breezes. Elliot making good time, 5.5 knots, heading down. He got the forecast yesterday and checked in just to be clear on what's going on. Everyone else is pretty clear what's happening. They've stayed over to the east of the track, and Tapio and Simon have cleared out with these northwesterly winds. Now I'm just going to, whoops, easy, come on, go back to the big screen. Interestingly now, this low pressure system is on track on the GGR tracker here, on the Yellowbit tracker. As you know, in the beginning it wasn't showing completely different position and so on compared to the main windy site, but now at the moment it's pretty accurate. So what you're seeing here is a change in the course and speed of the low pressure system, and also the intensity. Okay, so it's slowed right down, and it's not becoming as intense as fast. So of course we didn't know that 24 hours ago or 48 hours ago. You have to look at the forecast. It means that had some of these guys headed across, it looks as if they may have not been impacted, but you'll see now when I start to walk this forward how quickly this is going to move. It's going to go zoom straight up through here, and it would have actually definitely impacted the rest of the fleet. If I just come through 8 hours, you can see it's already jumped up. You'll see the intensity started to increase, although this doesn't look like too much yet. And if we go through to midnight tonight, let's see. If we go through to midnight tonight, back here, there it is. It's actually come up quite fast. So again, this is, on the forecast here, showing about 30 knots. It's not as intense as we had have thought, and it hasn't affected the speed of the boats at this stage. If we go across, this is midnight tonight. This is on the actual windy site. It's only showing forecast 26 knots, 25 knots. So that means it'd be blowing 35 knots or so if we look at the wind gusts. Yeah, there we go. So gusting 35, maybe 37, something like that. And the sea state, if we go to sea state, it's only up around 3.5 meters, in max. So it's not that dramatic yet. Okay, I'll go back to the wind. So it has actually slowed right down in its intensity and formation. In fact, I'll just jump this forward now. Midday tomorrow, we're just using the windy site, okay, rather than the tracker site. you'll see it's starting to move really fast north. It's starting to pick up again. This is the actual forecast wind, and if we look at the wind gusts, it's starting to change dramatically again. So it's more or less doing its big deal further north than the fleet, and it's moved, as it's increased in speed, going north, it's increasing intensity and so on, and it continues through till, in fact, if we go through till midnight tomorrow night, it's absolutely forming up to something. So you're getting 50s, 60s up here. This is where Ian's heading across, but this is another day after he would have been there, so he'll interact with this for sure. Here's the stunning part about this. This is the ECMWF forecast model. If we go to the GFS, boom, this doesn't even exist. The center of it is down here, right? In a completely different position. If we go to the ICON model, it's similar. It's actually, completely different forecasting. It's right over here, so it's very difficult to pick. But as I say, I always come back. This seems to be the ECMWF forecast is usually the most reliable. It's the one most people usually pick, but it's very hard for forecasting here. So, and I say all that in the context that when we're giving weather advice here, first of all, it's up to the entrants to decide what they want to do. We give them our best value judgment on what goes on, and it's kind of interesting. So this appears to be something similar to what is actually going on. Now that'll mean that this is midnight tonight. By midnight tonight, it's to the west of them, and the advice has always been, and they know this as well, as soon as it gets to the west, then obviously these guys can tack across, so they're going to come underneath. So as soon as we give them this forecast this morning, telling them where the centres are, irrespective of what the wind speed and strengths are, you'll see all of them probably tack across on port tack and start heading down here as well. So, it may not hold everyone up as much as we thought with strong headwinds, because you can see there's not a lot of strength to the wind behind it. And in fact, it's quite scary in terms of speed, because it's scary in the sense that there's not going to be a lot of wind. If we come through, this is 5 o'clock on Saturday, on the 24th, you can see there's only very light winds here, so they'll be scrambling to work out what goes on. The guys, in fact, it's very interesting when we look down here to what's happening with the doldrums. Once that pressure system's gone through, this is all going to be unstable light winds for quite a few days. So it's more or less like the doldrums have come through. They'll get a bit of a kick here, so challenges ahead for sure in terms of boat speed. So back to today's weather. You can clearly see that Tapio and Simon have got through. They're making good speed at the moment, 6 knots. Simon's making 6.3 knots, and they'll hold that breeze for another 24 hours or so. And even though they've come down to the east of the course, they're not in a bad position, and I don't think it's going to slow anyone up too much at all. So it's a bit more of watch this space, but we've given them the forecast, and it's now up to them what they want to do. Again, this is sort of midnight, so you can see these guys are going to be quite fast. They'll be on port tack, sea state. If we use this sea state here, not too bad. Go for waves. They're right on the edge of the bigger stuff. This might be 3 meters, but as I say, the wind's coming on the beam here, so they'll maintain their speed. Kirsten and Avalish will be moving out of it. They'll be out down here in the blues again. So it wasn't a bad tactic anyway. They're on the run line, and they'll be in a position when they get down towards the equator and the doldrums. You sort of, even though they've got light headwinds are fine in medium seas. You still make relatively good speed. Or not bad speed, and they can possibly come down here on starboard tack, and then when they get into the doldrums, you can see here to be on this side of the course is good because you're heading across this way, whereas these guys over here, Tommy and Tapio and Simon, they might have more of a headwind component. So there's nothing wrong with being on the east side of the course. So even when you look at Bernard Matessia, that's exactly what he did. There he is, roaring away still, but I'm pretty sure the fleet might catch him later on. So I hope that's pretty self-explanatory. All kind of fun, interesting tactics. It's certainly not boring, and there's great tweets coming from the fleet, so keep up with that, and we'll be at the marina to welcome Captain Coconut in the next few hours.